Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Michael Romer, Managing Partner with Romer DeBass, boutique real estate firm located in New York City, to discuss the impact of higher interest rates hitting buyers despite strong demand. We're also going to take a look at two event-driven events that are notable to the housing market. Michael, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Jill, great to see you as well, and thank you for having me.
You got it. And total mortgage application volume fell 8.3% last week compared to the previous week, according to Mortgage Bankers Association's seasonally adjusted index. Demand is now half of what it was a year ago. Is this due to rising interest rates, or is it a supply and demand issue?
Well, the honest answer is, Jill, it's both. I mean, if you look at the increase in interest rates over the last couple of months, the 30-year fix has gone up over 200 points. So you have a 2 percentage point jump. That will certainly impact applications. But you also have this supply and demand issue where there simply are far less homes than there are interested buyers. There's two factors that I want to point out. According to Redfin, if you compare March 2022 versus March 2021, home prices are up 17.1%, but the amount of homes available for sale are down 16.8%. So if you think about it, prices have gone up and the amount of homes available have gone down. So that's certainly going to have an impact on the amount of mortgage applications.
Does this signal weakness to come, and are markets impacted differently?
The housing market is a complicated market, which is impacted by many things, but I do not believe that this is an example of weakness. I certainly don't. I'm anticipating a very strong housing market in 2022, not too dissimilar from 2021. And the main reason for that is inventory, supply and demand. There simply are not enough homes. And the homes that are available, if they are in decent shape, they're selling, and they're selling quickly. So 2022 should be another very strong year for residential real estate, but the warning signs are there. Things are starting to slow down given that you have fewer homes available, prices are increasing, and the biggest factor that I'm seeing right now is housing affordability. We have a problem in this country in that there just simply are not enough homes that are affordable, especially for first-time homebuyers.
Let's turn to event-driven issues. What are the repercussions of Russian-owned property seizures that we're seeing?
This is a hot topic and has been a hot topic, especially here in New York for the last couple of months. If you talk about the Russian oligarch issue and the government making a decision or talking about potentially freezing or seizing assets of Russian oligarchs, it begs a lot of questions. First and foremost, it's, well, who qualifies as a Russian oligarch? And second, it's where are these properties located? And many of these high-end luxury properties are located right here where I'm based in Manhattan. These are typically high-end luxury condo buildings. You could also have luxury homes and yachts and all these other assets. But the biggest impact that I've seen is fear. This has resulted in a lot of fear, especially in the ultra high end of the real estate market, the residential market here in New York, because there have been some transactions. There have been some quote unquote whisper listings where properties are quietly being sold out of fear that the property might be seized. But I think it's important to point out one very big distinction on this topic, which doesn't get talked about enough. It's the difference between freezing an asset and actually seizing an asset with the government potentially selling it down the road. The latter of the two does take several years and oftentimes several years in court. The biggest risk to those who might fall in the oligarch category, and trust me, nobody feels bad for the oligarch, but the biggest risk here is having their property frozen.
The Supreme Court also ruled that SALT is here to stay. Explain to us what SALT is and the impact it has for residential and commercial real estate markets.
Well, SALT it's a very important aspect in the tax code. So what we're talking about here is a limitation on the amount of state and local income taxes that can be deducted on one's federal income tax return. Now, prior to 2017, when the Trump tax cuts went into effect, this was really uncapped. If you were living in a high tax state such as New York or California, you could list on your itemized deductions all of your state and local income taxes, including your property taxes. And we all know in states like New York, New Jersey, real estate taxes alone are very expensive. With those tax cuts came this SALT provision, which imposed a deduction cap of $10,000. So the amount that you could actually deduct for state and local income taxes and real estate taxes was capped at $10,000. Now, if you're somebody, owning a home in the suburbs that maybe has a tax bill annually of $15,000 to $20,000 on real estate taxes, well, this is going to impact you because you could only deduct 10,000 of that, and we're not even talking about your state income taxes yet. So it does have a very real impact. And one thing that I have my eye on is now that the Supreme Court has ruled that the SALT cap is here to stay, will this impact buyer demand, especially on the lower levels where folks like first-time home buyers that are counting every penny?
And that was exactly my next question to you. Will it weaken demand in certain markets? I mean, certainly in first-time home buyer, lower priced houses for sure. I mean, that's a big deduction that you're missing out on. People rely on that, especially with taxes and assessments going up.
It's very interesting. I actually wrote an article on this in the last couple of days, which is getting a lot of feedback, because if you're somebody sitting in the Midwest in a low tax state, you don't feel too strongly about this. But if you're somebody in New York or California that has a high real estate tax bill, well, this has a real impact on you personally. It has an impact on me personally. Do I think it will impact demand in any noteworthy way? No, I don't. But I do think that it does add to the growing problem we have of housing affordability, because if somebody is borderline with the ability to own a home, not having the ability to deduct the real estate taxes on that home on their federal income taxes, well, that's going to cost them money. And like I said, every dollar counts when it comes to qualifying to purchase a home.
And you know what, one more question I have for you just made me think of something else when it comes to foreclosures. We've seen an uptick in that. Do you think it gets to a point where people just simply can't afford their property taxes, especially when you look at areas that have very low income taxes or real estate taxes? With more people moving to different areas of the U.S., it's making these assessments go higher. You wonder if some people just can't afford to pay an increased tax bill.
I think in a lot of ways, we're already there, especially in high tax areas. And you've seen people move out of area to lower tax areas. That there are tax-free states in our country, and people have the ability to move. Although states like where I live in New Jersey or where I work in New York, these are high demand areas where people want to be, and people know that they have to pay a premium to do it. So that's just part of the price that you have to pay to live in these areas. But it's one of those things that we have to look at. Foreclosures are spiking. And this is a warning sign where we have to look at, well, if people aren't necessarily qualifying for mortgages, and now on the flip side, mortgages that were given, people don't have the ability to pay for it, we have some problems that have to be looked at.
All right, Michael, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks, Jill. We appreciate it.